So Genesis begins again, essay topic with guidelines and suggestions, part 2 of Mr. Gamara's not being present. Hi, gentlemen. Today I'm going to go over a couple of things to get you moving along without me being present. I hope these videos are helping. So for today, you should have completed your introduction. We'll eventually go over those introductions together, discuss what works and what doesn't work, and hopefully you'll start typing those and sharing them with me so that I can use them as samples and start to help you with editing those before you have to turn in your final drafts. Body paragraphs, really short lesson, but there's a lot of that I need to go over. So the body paragraphs are all going to have, at the minimum 5 sentences, but really we're looking about like 8 to 10 sentences to start. Every body paragraph should have a topic sentence. Now that topic sentence is going to tell the reader, me, what the paragraph is basically going to be about. It shouldn't just be like a sentence that just kind of like is any old sentence that introduces like plot. If you don't have something to say in the first line, then the rest of what you're going that will follow usually will be plot. If you find yourself saying, this happened, and then you have the word then or a next, you're probably providing plot. You're just giving me a summary and hoping that like a book report is going to somehow satisfy the subject. That's not the case. You have a thesis paper. You're proposing a particular theme in the work, and you're going to provide me with multiple characters who show how that theme is developed throughout the story by the author. So Williams's last name is going to be present throughout your essay because you're going to be telling me what idea she's trying to convey. It's her theme she came up with. So you're going to have a topic sentence, and it answers a part of what your thesis was. So if you said that you were going to tell me about how discrimination against Genesis, for example, affected her and how, you would start off with a topic sentence that states that Genesis is the character, that she is somehow discriminated against, and then how she goes through it and how she overcomes it. You're explaining, not telling, right? You're explaining what happened and its significance, not simply summarizing a bunch of points. Context. This is usually the most important part that everyone leaves out. You probably think like, well, we already know what happened, or you know where this is taking place. Doesn't matter. You always need to provide some kind of background information to each paragraph that sets up your evidence. So I know when in the story it's taking place. You don't want to give chapters. You want to say the beginning of the novel, the middle, the end. You want to be able to contextualize what has just happened within the story itself. I'll show you that in my sample. Evidence, you're going to provide a quote, or you're going to provide direct evidence from the story, something specific that happened. You're going to be providing me with MLA citations, meaning the page references. You're going to be incorporating quotes at some point in your essay that flow into your sentences. No ghost quotes, no quotes just standing by themselves. And then, it may have a, brief summary of what's happening in that section as well as part of your evidence. And again, it doesn't necessarily need to be, honestly, a quote should never be a lengthy quote. It should be a small little bit that you couldn't put into your own words, but you think is really important to make your point. So if your quote is longer than a few words, I'm probably just going to delete it and tell you like, I didn't read what you wrote because I don't need to reread the book. So you're just picking out a few words, but definitely your evidence is going to be a section of the text. Evaluate the quote. The quote means nothing unless you explain why the quote you used is important. So I need to know why it's there and how it helps your topic sentence, which helps your overall idea. If it doesn't prove anything, then I don't know why you included it at all. And then finally, right, you're closing out the paragraph by summarizing your main idea without repeating your topic sentence, right? So by the time you started here, you proposed an idea. Genesis was discriminated against and it affected her. You should have found context, evidence, explain that evidence, and now you want to tell me how, like, basically all of this added up to your main idea. It's not a repetition of the idea, it's a kind of like culmination, a completion of it. Now I'm using for my next slide an example of the Egypt game, which all of you covered last year. And it's a perfect example in order of like sections, right? Like it's actually color coded. But much more sixth gradey, much more basic, very straightforward, very simple, right? So you can see how short this is on the whole. So for example, my first part, right? Topic sentence, context, evidence, evaluate the quote, closing sentence. Topic sentence, at the beginning of the Egypt game, April Hall is a disrespectful and rude sixth grade girl. There's my proposal. That's my topic sentence. I'm going to propose or give evidence of how she's been disrespectful and rude. Context. Where is this happening? She moves to the Casa Rosada to live with her grandmother, Caroline, because her own mother, Dorothea, is leaving for a Hollywood tour. April doesn't know her grandmother very well, so she is not excited about moving to this new place. So this tells me like what has happened in the story, so when I get the evidence, green, the evidence makes sense. When she arrives at the Casa Rosada, Caroline encourages April to call her grandma. April, however, says, "Oh, I guess I'll just go on calling you Caroline." Right? And here's your Emily reference, page 12. Now we need to evaluate it. So what? Why? What does this actually mean? She calls her Caroline. That seems that she's closer to her, right? Wrong. Children are usually taught to respect their elders. Caroline has offered to foster April while her mother is away, but April does not seem to care. She calls her grandmother by her first name, which demonstrates a lack of respect. So now this evidence has been evaluated. It's been explained why calling her Caroline is wrong. It helps to explain how she's actually this disrespectful and rude girl. But we're going to state that. We're not just going to assume that the reader, me, gets your point. So your summary, your culminating statement is April exhibits rude behaviors toward Caroline, and this impacts the relationship. Now I would expect the next paragraph to continue to evaluate that idea, that this would only be kind of like a warm-up to an essay or several paragraphs about her disrespectful and rude nature, and hopefully how eventually she grows out of it, right? We obviously know that she warms up to her grandmother, Caroline, at the end, because she realizes that she is really her home and where she wants to be. You're going to have some parenthetical references because you're going to have some direct quotations, and if not a direct quotation, you're going to have direct references to the text. So if you need help with that, there's a link in this presentation that will take you to how to quote and paraphrase. I'll help you. And again, the people that I can best help are those that provide me with a early draft that I can then project onto the screen and review with the class. All right, Gemaras, what does this all mean? So here is the same idea that I just proposed to you, but for a paragraph that I wrote. And I don't want to give you too much more than this for right now. I've written the entire essay, and even this might be too much. And my concern is that you'll want to like copy anything from here and make it part of your evidence. But I know you won't because you don't have the same thesis that I do. I know that you all were working on something slightly different. So here's my, in blue, topic, yellow, context, red is my pink. Here is the evidence, which is you can start to see there's quotes, there's page references. Green is evaluation, and then this last little blue section here is my analysis, my summative connection to everything. So Genesis seems to be in conflict with everyone with whom she comes into contact, including her family members. Okay, so I proposed an idea that she comes into my whole essay is about her conflicts. Her friends at school mock her for her appearance and dark skin, and even call her racist names that destroy her self-image. They call her names like charcoal, eggplant, and blackie. They even go so far as to create a list titled 100 Reasons We Hate Genesis that bothers her and should cause her to find better friends. However, Genesis not only keeps the list, but she continues to add to it months later because she has actually come to believe all the things that others say about her. So that for me is just my context. I'm setting you up so that my main ideas and my evidence make sense. Many of these racist ideas she accepts could have been alleviated with proper parenting and counseling, but both her mother and father struggle either to identify her problems or to provide relief from them. Her father, Emery, in fact, adds to the problem by calling her names like chubby cheeks, or in moments of intoxication, spewing horribly racist language that attacks her appearance and dark skin. On one particular night after being evicted, he rejects the fact that Genesis looks like him, saying, "Nah, she ain't nothing like me," and then telling his friends that his wife ain't give me no pretty baby. Even her grandmother, another important figure in her life, reinforces that lighter skin is better and that darker skinned people are hood and less reputable. Now you can see that my evidence is coming from various places, right? So far I've made a reference on page 318, 111, 153. It's good to do that because it shows that you understand and have mastery of the entire text. Evaluation. Everyone Genesis encounters at home reinforces the same ideas that she is not beautiful. Therefore, she spends most of her time thinking about ways to make her skin lighter. She believes that people with lighter skin tend to have fewer problems. Therefore, she tries bleaching her skin in a variety of ways. It's a secret that leaves her feeling isolated and with feelings that no one will understand what she is going through. Only at the end of the novel does Genesis find a connection, this is my summation, with her father after she learns that he too suffered from the same bitter feelings of feeling ugly and that his whole life was affected by his proper upbringing. Now, my next paragraph is going to be about Emery. So I made a connection not only between what I just said, but the direction that I want to go in the essay, because Emery is also a victim of these types of criticisms, and it affects his growing up, and then that affects the way that he raises his daughter. So that is my first body paragraph, and then I'll show you the others on Wednesday at our next class. Now I'm going to skip over here. You can there's a conclusion material that I have. You all own these different slides, and I can give you additional advice. But I want to go over something now really quickly. Formatting. All of you have access. There's a link all the way on slide, one of the later slides. Let me just make sure. So in one of my on one of my slides for formatting, it's going to take you to a correctly MLA formatted paper that you can then just basically substitute your name and then eventually your title into that space. But formatting, the essay that you're going to submit is going to be typed and double spaced in an MLA format. The font style has to be Garamond. That's it. Nothing else. Don't ask. It's just Garamond. That's my instructions. The font size has to be 12 throughout the essay, so do not change the font for any reason. Do not create extra space between paragraphs, the heading and title, or anywhere else in the essay. And then other than the title, the only words that will be formatted differently are the words of the title, Genesis Begins Again, when you're referring to specifically the book. The title of the book must be italicized every time. Basic formatting rules. At this point, you've figured this out, that your MLA heading has to be your full name, my full name, Language Arts 7, and you're going to write out the date. Now you write out the entire date. You don't do a 12/3/2021. You write out December 3, 2021. And it has to be in this order, and you need to write this particular information. When you look at your paper, I can immediately look at any paper, right, from afar. If you hold it up and I can say to you, that's 12.5, that's 13, that's not Garamond, that's Times New Roman, that's Arial. I can tell if your margins are incorrectly set. So just if you follow the formatting that I give you, you won't have this problem. But you'll see here that everything is perfectly double spaced. You don't see any extra weird spaces between any different sections. I have an MLA heading, my name, right, dates. Up here, you're going to write your header, or you're going to plug in your header. If you use my document, it's already there for you. All you got to do is change the last name to your last name. The title doesn't have any extra spacing, right? It's all cleanly double spaced between the heading, the date, and the title, and then the title and the first body paragraph. You'll also notice that throughout the paper, it all looks really consistent, right? There's no giant extra paragraph space, or I don't know when that happens, when that's supposed to be cute, but it's just definitely something you don't do. So from beginning to end, there's no extra space between paragraphs, just not a thing that's done. Really ridiculous thing that still seems to happen is every time you write a new paragraph, you need to indent. Really obvious, but you do that using the tab button, not by hitting the space bar until your fingers get tired and letting it be random. If you hit the tab button, it'll perfectly space out your paper, your new paragraphs, by 1/2 inch. So if you go to this document, which, let me just make sure I can find it for you, is here. Need help with formatting? It's on slide 43. If you click on this link, it'll take you to this. You can then make a copy. If you're doing it on your cell phone, you're going to have it make a copy. You go to the three dots, you go to share and export, and then you can click make a copy. And then what you do is you just go here, and you're going to change your name, full name. And then if you double click up here, you can just put in your last name. And then you don't need to do anything else. The whole paper is perfectly formatted and it's already in double space. You don't need to write a title yet. I'll go over that. And then when you want to indent, I'm going to hit the tab once. And you'll see that that's perfectly aligned with the 1/2 inch mark. You'll see that on your document. It's cut off from my screen. All right. For tomorrow, you're writing your body paragraph. And you are bringing that body paragraph completed. And if you're smart, you'll have typed it so that I can start to review your material, and I'll try and get through as many as I can by the time we get to the next class so that I can help you edit your document. Good luck, and we're 16 minutes in, so hopefully you can get this done before the end of the period. Otherwise, complete it for homework. Bye.